YouTube, Rumble, if there's one thing we can all agree on is that the mental health in our world right now is absolutely bleak. We have people suffering that are homeless, that are basically just trying to survive and have mental illnesses anywhere from schizophrenia, onset illnesses from heavy drug use, and basically all the way up to complete sociopaths. We have a lot of issues going on in the world, without a doubt. We have a bunch of issues, but I think a lot of it does boil down to the overall mental well-being of the general everyday person. So many people out there that need to be treated that don't get the treatment. You look at places like in liberal cities where they dump God knows how much money into programs that are basically just money funneling into people's bank accounts while they do absolutely nothing to solve the problem. Basically, bureaucrats just collecting money while people continue to suffer on the streets, and the situation just getting worse and worse. Crime rates are going up between carjackings and just petty theft and murder, heavy drug use on the streets, a bunch of needles everywhere in these cities. It's just continuously getting worse and worse. And yet in these liberal cities, they just continue to vote for the same type of people over and over and over again. These Democrats don't care about you. They care about potentially putting you on the government teat so they can continue to extort you, continue to leave you to suffer, continue to tax everyone more and more money so they can keep lining their own pocketbooks. They simply just do not care, you guys. They really don't. Now, I know this story's been out for a little while, but I kind of wanted to let the dust settle, maybe, get a little bit more information before I made my own video about it and my own thoughts about it, and that being the strangulation of Neely. Now, pretty much every single outlet has got an extreme bias in one direction, and that direction being basically racism. Basically just straight out murder, no nuance, just plain Jane, racist murder. The only story I can find that was at least pretty much in the middle was ironically from Fox News. Now, I did originally shoot this video yesterday thinking that things were kind of a little bit, settled and things were getting figured out, but there has been some updates to the story as I figured there would be. So I went through all that effort to edit it and I didn't even post it. I just had a sneaky suspicion some things were going to change in the story. All right, so let's jump into the headline. Marine veteran to be charged by Manhattan DA in Jordan Neely's subway chokehold death. Daniel Penny will surrender to the NYPD at the 5th precinct on Friday morning to face a charge of manslaughter in the second degree. They actually might stick him with this manslaughter charge. My guess is they might move it to an involuntary manslaughter, which from my research is anywhere between like 5 to 10 years of prison time, or 3 years if on good behavior. But they're going for the second degree, so I don't know exactly what the nuance is in New York's law. So if you guys know something I don't, definitely leave a comment down below on that. All right, so this story begins. A New York City subway rider accused of choking a homeless man to death is expected to turn himself into police on Friday morning to face a manslaughter charge. We can confirm that Daniel Penny will be arrested in charge of manslaughter in the second degree. A spokesperson for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office said, "We can't provide any additional information until he has been arraigned in Manhattan criminal court, which we expect to take place tomorrow." On May 1st, Penny, a 24-year-old Marine veteran and a college student, put 30-year-old Jordan Neely in a fatal chokehold after what police described as an altercation on a northbound F train. Neely was allegedly threatening passengers on the subway and having a mental episode. He was yelling and pacing back and forth when Penny interjected, tackled him to the ground, and put him in a chokehold, witnesses and police said. Now, Jordan Neely has an arrest record of 42. A lot of Jordan Neely's arrests has actually been basically swept away. You see, Neely pleaded guilty to felony assault February 9th in exchange for a 15-month alternative to incarceration program. According to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, he was supposed to stay in a treatment facility and abstain from drugs. If he had completed the program, the felony assault would have been reduced to a misdemeanor, but he skipped a compliance court date and left the facility. A warrant was issued for his arrest on February 23rd. It wasn't immediately clear how long he had spent in jail awaiting the resolution of the assault case. The troubled man, who had a history of mental illness and drug addiction, had a difficult upbringing. His mother was strangled by her boyfriend in 2007 and found stuffed to a suitcase in the Bronx. And yes, that is absolutely horrible. No kid should ever have to go through that. But it does not excuse you as an adult to do whatever you want. That felony assault charge was him brutally attacking a woman in the side of the head. Now, I understand mental illness. And let me just insert my little opinion here. Why was he even out of jail? Why was he allowed to be out of jail? Why was he granted freedom after a felony assault charge in the first place? He was just allowed to leave? Jordan Neely should have never been at that train that day at all. He should have been behind bars. And maybe he still would be alive. In jail, but at least alive. All right, let's continue on. Juan Alberto Vasquez, the freelance journalist who shot the now viral video of the incident, told the New York Post that Neely started screaming in an aggressive manner and complaining that he had no food and nothing to drink. The Marine veteran allegedly held Neely in a chokehold for 15 minutes, according to Vasquez. Although Neely's death was ruled a homicide by the medical examiner, police had not arrested anyone in connection to the crime. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg is to bring the charge against Penny, and the case has not been presented to a grand jury at this time. Fox News has learned that Penny will surrender to the NYPD at the 5th Precinct on Friday at 8 a.m. The incident sparked protests and violent clashes last week after the Marine veteran was taken into custody and released. Now, do I think that Penny needs to face some charges? I kind of do, yeah. Actually, I do. And the main reason for that is there is no way Penny knew anything about Neely's history. He had no idea what Neely had done in the past, and he had no justifiable reason to hold a chokehold for that long, which is pretty wild. Do I think this was stemmed in racism? No, I do not think it was stemmed in racism. I think Penny went in with the best intentions to protect himself and others around him from this super aggressive person. I don't think race took part in any way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, he made a grave mistake. And I do think that even if you make a mistake such as this, you're still gonna have to pay some consequences. Now, do I think he needs to go to prison for the rest of his life? Absolutely not. But he definitely needs to face something. It's just sad. If Neely actually had gotten the help that he was supposed to get in a city that's supposed to be spending a lot of money towards these things, this entire incident probably could have been avoided. Everything after the fact obviously is just hindsight. For all I know, it probably wouldn't have changed anything, but that's just my guess. Okay, so we'll wrap the story up. After the incident, Penny's attorney said Neely had a documented history of violent and erratic behavior, which was the apparent result of ongoing and untreated mental illness. Jordan Peele's father mourns homeless son's death on New York City subway car, a good kid. The city medical examiner determined Neely, a Michael Jackson impersonator, died from the compression against his neck. I'm sorry, and I understand being the parent to the child, but every parent's gonna say their kid is a good person, a good boy. He never tried to hurt nobody. He never meant to cause any harm. I understand that from the perspective of a parent, but you have to understand how ridiculous that sounds when a person has a rap sheet of 42 arrests. I'm sorry to Neely's dad, but your son was not a good kid. He just wasn't. He was brought up in a terrible system in a series of very terrible events, which shaped his mind in what I call a trash culture that happens in a lot of these kind of places. And the system he was brought up in basically manufactures people like this. And it's unfortunate because Neely really never had a chance. But hey guys, that's the story and just a sprinkle of my opinion. You let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like or dislike the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I put out a new video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.